Peruvians finally get to know their new president, and in Venezuela, over 600,000 signatures were invalidated for the referendum call. My name is Reagan Vignes for teleSur's, and this is from the South. Thank you so much for being here with us. First up, Peruvians finally know who their next president will be. The Electoral Office has finally proclaimed Pedro Pablo Kuczynski as the winner after Sunday's election with a tight gap less than half a percentage point, just over 40,000 votes. The former Wall Street banker finally got 50.14%, while Keiko Fujimori garnered 48.88%. Despite winning, Kuczynski's power will be severely limited by Congress, where Fujimori's allies control a supermajority.
Peru has great challenges ahead, and we want a country that is united, reconciliated, and ready to talk. Let's not mistake dialogue with weakness.
Meanwhile, Kuczynski's rival Keiko Fujimori has conceded her defeat.
After getting this runoff's electoral results, and while there are still pending votes to be resolved before the National Electoral Tribunal, we democratically accept the ONPE results.
Pedro Pablo Kuczynski has narrowly won the presidency of Peru with the support of center and leftist forces, united over the rejection of the perceived authoritarian candidature of Keiko Fujimori. However, Kuczynski has a history of supporting policies in line with right-wing economic measures that benefit large corporations, such as reducing taxes.
The tax rate that we are proposing is much lower for the small businesses than for the big ones, but at the same time we must recognize that we have to attract large capital to Peru to develop our great potential.
For Felix Jimenez, professor of economics, political alliances, social conflicts, and economic pressures will force Kuczynski to compromise on many of his proposals.
If he wants to do a democratic government, he's going to have to review his economic proposals. And I believe this could be an opportunity for the country to open up a possibility of initiating some changes to this neoliberal economic model that has already had close to 25 years.
Nevertheless, 56% of Congress will be made up of members of Fujimori's Conservative Party, and they have a vested interest in not allowing Kuczynski to gain popularity with left-of-center reforms. Rael Mora, teleSur, Peru.
The head of Venezuela's Electoral Council has presented the results of the verification process of the signatures gathered by the opposition to call for a referendum. Tirisay Lucena said that over 605,000 signatures were invalidated. Of them, almost half were due to errors in filling out forms, and 11,000 because the signatures belong to those of deceased citizens. The council will now begin a validation process for appeals. Lucena warned against any form of aggression.
Any aggression, disruption of order, or generation of violence will lead to the immediate suspension of the process until order, tranquility, and respect is restored.
Hasta que se restablezca el orden, la tranquilidad y el respeto.
And in Brazil, ousted President Dilma Rousseff has called for a referendum on whether to hold early elections if she survives the impeachment process open against her. She said this during an interview on Thursday night carried on the government television station channel TV Brasil. Since approving the impeachment process, a number of senators who voted in favor have expressed regret. More than a quarter of the population views Temer's government negatively, and a majority want new elections this year, according to a recent poll.
It is very clear that Michel Temer's government is the synthesis of Eduardo Cunha's thinking. Michel Temer's government clearly expresses Cunha's agenda.
To Colombia now, the leaders of the agrarian strike that has entered its 11th day reached an agreement to begin 36-hour negotiations with the government, which started at 9 a.m. this morning on Friday. The government had previously agreed to talks with indigenous groups in La Maria, but not with an Afro-Colombian settlement in Quinamayo, which many saw as a divide and rule strategy. The protesters have agreed to lift the blockade on the Pan American subhighway as a sign of goodwill. Israel has restricted access to thousands of Palestinians after an attack in Tel Aviv. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights says that the measure may be a collective punishment banned by international law. teleSur's Noor Arzin has those details.
After the Tel Aviv attack on Wednesday evening that killed 4 Israelis in a shopping mall by Palestinian gunfire, in the past 24 hours, the Israeli authorities have imposed new restrictions on the movement of Palestinian people in the West Bank and also Jerusalem. In the past few days, they permitted over 80,000 Palestinians to cross to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in order to pray for the Friday prayer. However, today only 7,000 people were allowed in because of the security reasons. The reactions from the Palestinian side were different. From the Palestinian Authority, they condemned the attack on the shopping mall that killed 4 Israelis, but according to the Palestinian resistance brigades from different Palestinian political parties, they prized this action, saying that it is a reaction, a normal reaction for the Palestinian people for what is happening to them on the hands of Israeli forces for over 68 years now.
A court in India's capital, Delhi, has sentenced 5 men to life imprisonment for the gang rape of a Danish woman back in 2014. The tourist was robbed and raped at knife point when she approached the group to ask for directions. Thousands of people lined the streets of Louisville to say goodbye to boxing legend Muhammad Ali. Ali's casket made its way to an interfaith memorial service held for him at a major sports center. Thousands of free tickets for the memorial service were quickly snapped up within half an hour. The ex-heavyweight champion and rights activist died last Friday at the age of 74. For more on these and other stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English, and you can visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter for teleSur English. And my name is Reagan Vignes. Have a great night and a safe weekend. Bye.